Well, when it comes to the Disney parks, one thing is always consistent in that things will constantly be changing. Perks are many times changed or removed, and prices will go up. These are kind of common things you will see when it comes to Disney parks, but a recent move that they've made in Disneyland has some people asking, is this going to happen at Disney World? But also with the removal of this, there's another perk being added that I actually think could make its way to Disney World potentially. So we're going to talk about this, what these changes are, and what kind of impact this will have when it comes to Disney World, and what this may have an impact for Disneyland as well. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And the change here that we're talking about is the fact that Disneyland is ending early entry for hotel guests. So starting January 2026, Disneyland Resort hotel guests will trade early park entry for a complimentary Lightning Lane pass. It says currently this program grants hotel guests 30-minute early access before park opening on select days. And instead of having that, hotel guests with a valid reservation will receive one complimentary Lightning Lane entry for a Lightning Lane multi-pass attraction during their stay.
I want more.
The Lightning Lane multi-pass allows guests to bypass standby lines by making one reservation at a time through the Disneyland app. However, popular rides like Star Wars Rise of the Resistance and Radiator Springs Racers are excluded and require separate Lightning Lane purchases. It says Disneyland's officials cited the reason for this change was low usage of the early theme park entry program as the main reason for doing this. And the current early entry program continues through January 4th, 2026. With Disneyland offering early entry on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and Disney California Adventure on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So when you're talking about this for Disneyland, Disney World and Disneyland are very different. Disney World has 25 some odd hotels. Disneyland, officially of the actual Disney hotels, you have 3. And a lot of people in Disneyland, it's a locals park. So you don't have a lot of the people going to that park every day that are actually staying at the Disney hotels there. And a lot of people actually stay at the surrounding hotels due to, the increase. There's only 3 of those hotels. So those hotels are already very expensive. When you talk about the Disneyland ones. So the surrounding, third-party hotels are typically cheaper, much more in people's budgets. You can still walk to Disneyland there, but those hotels don't include the early entry. So you're only talking about the 3 Disneyland hotels. So if you don't have a lot of people using it, which Disney has said, again, they said they're taking this away because people aren't utilizing it. More than likely, if I were to guess when it comes to Disney, they many times don't want to pay for more labor than they need to. And so if you're looking at this, if it wasn't being used a whole lot, they're paying a lot for these employees to be here early when you add all that up, I'm sure. And so this is more than likely a way for them to save some money. And the giving out a Lightning Lane pass doesn't cost them any money. I mean, essentially, this is just a perk. This is something that is not like every time they give one out that it's taking $10 away from Disney's pocket. This is just mostly an experience-related type of thing. So they can give these out as a perk that doesn't really cost them any money and potentially could actually lead to more Lightning Lane sales, because you can almost look at this as a free trial as in many ways. A lot of businesses and a lot of products offer this, where it's like, hey, try it for a week and see if you like it before you actually end up paying for it. So you could see people trying this out and being like, oh, this is kind of nice, and then actually purchasing it to have more Lightning Lanes in there. So not only is it probably a way to save some money and still have some sort of perk involved, but potentially also a way for them to boost Lightning Lane sales, which obviously are going to add to their bottom line. So instead of looking at a situation where they're paying money to have employees, be in the parks for these early entry periods, they potentially have a situation where they're giving you a perk that could actually make them money. So I think that's probably a lot of that when it comes to going out in Disneyland. Now, in terms of the actual perk here, it's rather underwhelming because it's not a Lightning Lane pass for each day of your trip. If you look at what it says here, it is a valid reservation will receive one complimentary Lightning Lane entry for a Lightning Lane multi-pass attraction during their stay. So this isn't one per day. So let's say you're staying for 5 nights. You're not getting 5, multi-passes that you can use, one per each day or whatever it is. You're getting just one you can use. I think most people, would rather utilize an early entry, even though they don't have it every day at Disneyland. Again, this is, you're talking about Disneyland itself. This was going on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and then California Adventure was Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and Sundays. So it wasn't like it was every single day, but you had a lot more opportunities to use that perk versus just a one Lightning Lane pass. So I think in terms of making this a perk, it's a little bit on the cheap end, considering as well, handing out Lightning Lane multi-passes doesn't cost Disney anything. Like we just said, it doesn't cost them any money to do this. They could have you have one per every day of your visit, or 3, make it kind of like how Fast Pass used to be. But just having one for, doesn't matter how long your stay is, I don't think is a great exchange of perks necessarily here. I feel like there needs to be more to this, especially at Disneyland. I get Disneyland hotels are much more expensive than Disney World because there's not as many of them. So you're spending a lot more money to stay at Disneyland, and now you're even getting less perks, and then you're getting just one single Lightning Lane pass that you could use. I think at the very least it should be one per day. But I would say the closer you can get to having a perk that gets you closer to how it was for Fast Pass in terms of if you're going to be a hotel guest, then you kind of get that perk of how it used to be. I think that would be a pretty decent perk. But as it stands now, I don't think people going to Disneyland, resort, staying on property, I don't think they're going to be really happy with this change. I think it's a pretty lopsided exchange of perks, I guess you could say. But again, we have seen Disney remove a lot of perks from staying on property, than how they used to have it in the parks. Now, when you're talking about Disney World, will this come to Disney World? Will they remove early entry or do something with this, complimentary Lightning Lane passes? Disney World is a different destination than Disneyland. Again, Disneyland is a very locals park. Disney World is a much more worldwide destination. Again, you have 25 some odd hotels. You have a lot of people utilizing early entry. I mean, if it's just used a ton at Disney World. So if they were to remove that perk, I think that would be met with a lot of unhappy people, because that has become, if you want to get a lot of stuff done, especially for people that don't want to get Lightning Lane multi-pass, a lot of those people will then instead rope drop or get early entry to try and, get as many things done as they can in the morning, to get the most out of their day. So when it comes to Disney, I'm not going to say never, because there's a lot of things that have changed over Disney the past 5 years that I never thought would be the case. I never thought they'd get rid of Splash Mountain. I didn't think they would be bringing in cars to Frontierland. I never thought they would get rid of the Rivers of America. So there's a lot of things that have changed. So I'm kind of in a spot with Disney where I'm never going to say never. I wouldn't be totally shocked if they got rid of it. I don't think it would be a good move. I don't think it would, if they were to get rid of it at Disney World, it wouldn't be because it's not used. It would simply just be a cost-cutting maneuver, which they would do. I mean, that is something Disney has been known to do. Cutting costs, cutting perks, because those many times are also associated with costs to try and, make more money. I mean, quarter by quarter, they like to show more money. And the one thing, if this summer at Disney World has been slow, as has been reported many outlets, and let's say they had a down quarter, that is a time where you could see Disney, if they're looking at the forecast and not really loving necessarily how it's looking for fall and going into the fourth quarter, you could see them get into a position where they do decide to cut some cost, and at least, I don't know if they would get rid of it, but maybe minimize or make it certain days of early entry. Like, they could tweak with it. Now, if I were to guess, I don't think they will. I think they would probably even understand. That would be met with a lot of resistance and a lot of very unhappy people. And a lot of people have already talked about all the perks that have been removed from staying on Disney property in a time period where Disney has been trying to add in perks to bring more value to a Disney vacation, especially staying on property. We've seen them bring back the luggage service. We've seen them have the free entry to the water parks this summer on the day that you check in. So I don't know if they would go that route at Disney World. Again, I wouldn't be shocked if they did, but I'm not totally convinced at this point that they will. But I think the question people also have is, would Disney ever do this complimentary Lightning Lane pass type of thing? And I think I've talked about this before. I think a lot of people, I mean, if you still remember what it was like with Fast Passes, and that wasn't a perfect system, but that was really nice. Anybody that was in the park that day, you had 3 Fast Passes to start your day with. You could always get more. And it was kind of a nice thing that you could do. Now that is Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, obviously something you have to pay for. But I think if you're staying at a Disney resort, you could, or they could, implement a system where there is some sort of level of, with the multi-pass, you get a perk with it. Now, I don't know if they would do this for every single hotel guest, considering you have 25 hotels, but you could tie it to, say, the deluxe resorts, where if you're staying on a deluxe level resort, you get something with the Lightning Lane pass. Now, I would say personally, if you're going to ask me, Jared, how would you set this system up? I'm not expecting this to happen. What I would do is simply say, if you're staying at a Disney World hotel, you get 3 Lightning Lane multi-passes for each day of your stay. Then, if you know, on top of that, so that gives people 3 chances, kind of like how Fast Pass used to be. I think that'd make a lot of people happy. Then, if you decide that you would like to purchase, you know, multi-pass for that day, you already have the 3, then you decide, hey, this is a nice system, we'd like to continue to use this. You get to buy multi-pass at a discounted rate because you're a hotel guest of Disney World. I think that would be an actually pretty great thing. Oh, I would also bring back Magical Express. I would absolutely. One of the first things, if they put me in charge, Magical Express is coming back as soon as humanly possible, bringing back some of these perks, making it much more like, you know, how it used to be with fast passes and other things as well. I would also implement taking your purchases in the park, they deliver it to the hotel rooms, like all these perks that used to be there. I would absolutely bring back to Disney World. Now, do I think that Disney will do that? I don't think they will do that unless they feel like they need to do that. Because again, they would look at this as they are cutting into their Lightning Lane sales, even though they would be bolstering a benefit of staying on property. So I would argue in many ways, they could potentially make up for it by having more people stay in their hotels. And if they had a lot of demand to that, then they could obviously, on top of that, you would increase the price of the deluxe stays because of this perk. So I would argue whatever money they think they would lose on the Lightning Lane sales, they would probably gain off of the hotel stays, or at least it would just break even. But you're dealing with accounting and major companies, and many times they don't want to see a loss in one area because they think that would show a loss to investors. So I don't think that they will do it, but I think it's something that is out there that they could do that doesn't really cost them anything. Because again, handing out Lightning Lane reservations is not going to, it's not like every time they hand it out, it costs them $10 out of their pocket. This is an inherent value that is added to this. So it's something they could play with in the future of tying perks to staying on Disney hotel property with something to do with Lightning multi-passes. But I don't think they're going to do it unless they feel like they need to. And I think what you could see, and if we've talked about many times with, you know, the impacts of Epic Universe and Universal Studios, what they're doing, Disney's summer, you know, seemingly being slower this summer. If they are seeing their attendance, you know, either stagnate or fall off a little bit, because again, I'm not out here saying Epic Universe is going to tank Disney World, but if they are seeing that, you know, they don't have anything new opening for years to come as they build these new lands, and they need things to bring people to stay on property and go to the parks. We've seen them run a lot of discounts this summer. I mean, they even had, you know, 50% off kid tickets. Like, they had a lot of perks going on this summer, and seemingly still had a kind of a slow summer, at least according to some of the reports out there. So if they continue to see that trend, this is something they could tap into, because if you don't have any new attractions to really showcase for the next few years, you would have to really, you would assume, lean heavily into perks and the value of a trip. And if you could make staying in a Disney hotel have this type of perk, I think that would probably go a long ways, as well as other perks coming back. So in terms of all of this, do I actually think that Disney will, these changes at Disneyland will make its way to Disney World? I don't. I actually don't think that will happen. Although, again, I won't be surprised if it happens, but I don't think that will actually happen because it's just a different destination. And until at least we see on the earnings reports that Disney is having some sort of revenue drop or attendance drop, or people aren't booking hotels as much, there's really no reason for them to change anything. And typically how Disney operates is they're more reactionary. So if they see an issue coming up and they need to try and alleviate it, that's when you can see them make changes. But if they have another earnings call where they see another reported increase in revenue, you're not going to see anything change. And it wouldn't be a situation until they felt like they needed to pull something out of their bag of tricks to get people, to come to Disney World, stay on property, that they would do that. But I do think if you're Disneyland, it's a bummer there. If you're going there, I think that's a perk that, again, they said they got rid of it because people weren't using it. But I think for the people that were going to use that, early entry was a nice thing to have. And I think having multiple days of early entry as a possibility of using versus just one Lightning Lane pass that you can use on your entire trip, I don't think that's a good value trade-off in terms of what you're getting in return for what's been taken away. And I don't really know how you would argue otherwise, to be quite honest. So I've seen a lot of reactions out there, people being pretty upset by this. They go to Disneyland. So I suppose if you're worried about this, going on a Disney World vacation, I don't think you have anything to worry about at this moment. But we'll wait and see. They could do this. Who knows? But of course, if anything changes on this or any updates on this, we will let you know on this channel. But for now, that is going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do its coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about this change to Disneyland, and do you think that this change could make its way to Disney World? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.